So thank you, Will, for joining us today. Can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your background in the pizza industry?
Well, my name is Will Grant. I'm one of 4 master pizziolo instructors in the United States, less than 100 in the world. I'm an avid pizza fan. I'm proud to be from the Pacific Northwest, kind of an unknown area for pizza, but since 1984, I've been working in my family's pizzeria making pizzas at That's Some Pizza on Bainbridge Island, and I also have a restaurant in Kingston, Washington called Sourdough Willie's.
So your pizzas are renowned for their unique sourdough base. So how did you first get into sourdough and how did you brought that into your recipes?
I was lucky enough to not bring it myself. My family had brought it to me. When I was 6 years old, my family started a pizzeria in Kingston, Washington called That's Some Pizza, and we used a sourdough starter from our good family friend Phil Hausman's family that he had brought down from the Klondike Gold Rush, and it was his great-great-grandfather's that he had been learning how to use it, and then we used it with our pizza. But of course it was the 80s, so we never said we had sourdough pizza. It wasn't until about 25 years later that we even shared that we did sourdough.
Wow. Well, you won a couple of awards with your pizzas, so can you share what those awards were and how they have impacted your business?
Well, the first one I won, the very first time I ever competed, was for Best Pizza in the United States. It was the 2017 Caputo Cup, and my manager that had been using my same dough won second place for a different style, so I became the top-rated pizzeria in the United States. Since then, I've run third best sandwich in the world, fourth place calzone, sixth place pasta, seventh place palla pizza in Italy, and a few others in there I've forgotten about. But really the biggest thing for me was winning the first one, was being able to share my sourdough with you in the Sourdough Library.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that. So we understand, and now that you start talking about your sourdough, we understand that your sourdough has an interesting heritage linked to the Klondike Gold Rush. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
So, you want the whole story from the Klondike Gold Rush?
Just try to give us a good summary.
So, in the late 1800s, Seattle became a hub for miners and people going to the Yukon, Alaska to strike rich with gold. Part of the requirements of going to Alaska, they had to bring a year's worth of food with them because it was so cold and so desolate there, people were dying. So sourdough became a method of cooking of choice up there. Even to this day, old timers from Alaska are called sourdoughs. So that sourdough that I gotten was originally from the Alaskan Klondike. It had moved its way down to California and back up again, I think in the early 60s. So it had been around the Northwest and California for a while. But we've been using it in our dough every day for the last 40 years at That's Some Pizza. Never refrigerating, just kind of being unique that way also. Pacific Northwest is the perfect area, humidity and temperature, to be able to leave a sourdough like that out and never have to refrigerate it.
That's how you do it in the pizzeria?
Yes, at both our pizzerias.
So you leave them outside of the fridge, always at what temperature do we talk
So
about?
usually in Pacific Northwest, we're anywhere from the 40s to the 90s sometimes. There's been a few years we've had to put in the cooler when it's gotten over 110,
Yeah.
but besides that, we always leave it out.
Okay.
Also, when you're dealing in a kitchen environment, you have a lot of ovens going all the time, especially deck ovens with pizzerias. So you have a lot of ambient heat there. So usually the kitchen's about 77 degrees, right around there.
Okay. So running a successful pizzeria is not an easy feature, okay? Can you share some of the challenges you've faced along the way and how you've overcome them?
Wow. It's been quite a few. For me, it's not just for me. It's a generational thing. It's my parents started this when I was 6 years old. So I think the first year we opened up, we weren't making any money, and it ended up because one of our managers was stealing from us. So we ended up going to the International Pizza Expo to learn, to kind of find out what was going on. It was from there that we found that someone was stealing from us, so we had to kind of adapt to what we're doing. That was the first big one for sure. It was a doozy. We didn't think we had made money for the first few years.
Wow.
Beyond that, I think one of the biggest motivators for me to become a teacher and a master instructor were all the employees that would quit and take steal my sourdough starter, steal other employees, and they'd start businesses. And they'd always fail. So I figured if they're going to keep doing this, I might as well teach people how to do it and have them be successful and work with it. And it's been actually pretty interesting that how successful that's been sharing it that way. But, pizza is a family affair. So there's always, especially within a family, working that way. So there's always issues with friends and family and dealing with that kind of situation in a high octane environment. Restaurants are very fast paced. There's always something going on wrong, something that needs to be fixed. You're really a problem solver more than anything else. So luckily it's the pizza industry. You just give someone free pizza and you tell them to give them the next one free, and next thing you know, you take a bad situation and you turn it into a really great situation.
All right. We had the luck to taste your sourdoughs, and I must say they are fantastic. I really love them.
Thank you very much.
Especially the one with the mushroom and the honey and the truffle.
It's a little bit different, ricotta. Right? Yeah, the truffle shuffle, I call it.
Truffle shuffle. For anyone who is in the neighborhood of Kingston, they should come by. So where do you draw your inspiration when you are creating these new kind of pizzas?
Well, for me, it's a lot just cooking at home with my family and taking, influences from around me and really what ingredients are around me. But a lot of it, I really try to respect the values of what pizza are. For as long as pizza's been around, there's not a lot of new stuff here to have. So I really try to really represent what other people have made and try to make it better with my own little flair to it. Like, for instance, tonight we had a pizza called the New Yorker. My good friend Tony Gimignani had won a world championship with that pizza, and I loved it so much I wanted to bring it back to my restaurant. So it's an Italian sausage with a pepperoni pizza. So I kind of spiced up with a little bit with some dollops of ricotta cheese, a basil jaffenade, and a little bit of a spicy honey over the top of it to kind of give it a little more flair. So I can respect what he's done, but give my own twist to it also, because so much of food has already been done, and that's always a frustrating thing being a competitive chef. Everyone's trying all these new things, these crazy things. People have basic palates, and you need to really cater to what people want to have and what people enjoy, not to what you think is going to be good for them.
Okay. Well, in our sourdough library in Belgium, we house, of course, a sample of your sourdough. How does it feel to have your sourdough preserved in such a way, and what does it mean for your legacy?
Well, really, I see that legacy is not just for me, it's for my community. Being 40 years into the business, it's not just me that's enjoyed this, it's the whole island of Bainbridge Island. It's the whole North Kitsap community that have been there for that. So to be able to share that, not only with them, but with you and the world, and have it be remembered and living that way. You always get mad at me when I say it's Sourdough Museum. Well, he gets mad because the museum's where dead things are. It's the library. That's where living things are.
It's true, no? Who does not agree with that?
But what amazing, the idea in Reykjavik, they keep all the grains safe for someday something bad happens. Well, why not for sourdough? Why not for something so diverse as sourdough, with so many different ways you can make it and so many amazing different foods you can have, just to be able to be a part of that. And in 2019, I took my mother with me, and we went and visited you there at the library. We kind of came in out of the blue, but luckily, Karl, you had came and picked us up and drove us on what you called the longest, most boring highway in the world.
Yeah, it is.
But you took us there personally and showed us around. It was amazing to see, the care and thought that you and Puratos and the Quest for Sourdough has done to really save such culturally amazing things. For me, learning sourdough, I almost had to reinvent it because so many people had forgotten how to use it and how to manipulate it in ways that work for you. Biga, Polish, Levan, Levita Madre, so many different names, but they weren't specific because of a flavor. They were specific because that's what worked for them where they were at. It was out of necessity what they did, not because they liked the Odie flavor from a Polish compared to Levan. That's how they leavened bread then. So being able to learn that on my own, then be able to be introduced to you and introduced to the library and learn the science behind what I had taught myself, and be able to share that not only with you, with the world, has been really, really amazing. Just, I really want to elevate everyone around me, especially in the pizza field, but in the baking field too. Any way we can all be better together, I think it's an amazing thing.
All right. So, finally, you have your sourdough in the library. You know what it took to get there. So, for the people that you are inspiring during this talk, can you briefly explain the process that you followed in order to get inside the sourdough library? Do you remember?
Yes, it was several years of harassing you online, on Facebook, on Instagram. I wanted to be a part of this amazing library. And unfortunately for California, there was a wildfire during one of the Taste for Innovation events in California. And our good friend David DeBlue was able to come up and interview for me with the sourdough, with Phil Hausman about his family legacy, with my mother, and see what we did there. And then from there, we got approved, and then you came out to us, took a little bit, and made this amazing documentary movie. If you ever get a chance, you really need to see the quest for sourdoughs. What was it called? The Klondike, I think was?
The Klondike Gold Rush.
The Klondike Gold Rush.
Puratos,
It was
yeah.
really, really amazing to be a part of something like that, but just... So you took it with you there, and then we sent it. We got shipped special containers to send it back to the library. Mine took a little bit longer. It actually got stuck in customs, so I think they ended up getting it like 2 months later. So we had to send it again with David DeBlue later.
Yeah.
But it's you never know. You know, for every success I've had, I always say I've had 100 failures, right? So it's just something about persistence and keeping going. It's just like baking bread. You're never going to get it right the first time. You have to keep trying and trying and trying to succeed. And anything worth having is something worth working towards.
Okay. You forgot to mention one thing, and that is that you registered your sourdough on our website.
I did, yes. That was the first thing. That was the beginning of the harassment and following you online, was registering at thequestforsourdough.com. And it was amazing. I just said, I have this old sourdough. I want to put this online. And then you go online, you see the different qualities that you really look for in it, the different dynamic, what you really see in a sourdough. And it really made me look at my sourdough differently. What are the notes? What are the consistencies? What are the smells that are involved with it? And it was really neat to be able to share that online. And then the second you hit enter when you register it, just to see the thousands of other sourdoughs across the world was really, really amazing. And it was immediately just a family of sourdough, a family of lactobacilli.
So, all right. So, is there anything else you would like to share with us?
If you're ever in St. Vith and you want to see the Sourdough Institute, I definitely recommend giving Karl a call. I definitely recommend registering with thequestforsourdough.com. And if you're ever in Seattle area, please visit me at That's a Sun Pizza on Bainbridge Island or Sourdough Willie's in Kingston.
Yeah, I can only strengthen or emphasize on that message. Whenever you are in Kingston, whenever you are in Bainbridge, go to Sourdough Willie's or That's a Sun Pizza, because it's really amazing pizza.
Thank you very much.
So
Well, the
recommend
beautiful
it.
thing about Kingston, too, is it's a ferry ride away from Edmonds, Washington. So you just park your car, you jump on a ferry boat, and enjoy the ambiance of the ferry before you walk off into Sourdough Willie's with 6 different styles of sourdough pizza.
Amen to that. Thank you very much, Will.
Cheers. Thank you.
So we have this question from one of the listeners. What number is your sourdough?
My sourdough is number 104.
And what's so nice about his sourdough is that it is one of the most biodiverse sourdoughs we have in the library. The average of sourdoughs contain one type of yeast, so one species of yeast, and 2 species, 1 or 2, of lactic acid bacteria. Will's sourdough contains 3 types of dominant yeasts and 6 types of lactic acid bacteria. That's what amazed me most when I got it, I said, yeah, it's a pizza sourdough, we will see what's inside. But then when the result came in, we were like, wow, this is amazing. It's still today the most biodiverse sourdough we have in the library.
When I teach a lot, I really try to, tell people that, Levan, Biga, Polish, it's not a style. It's a style more than an actual thing. So I will take my sourdough and I will feed it up to a Polish. I'll feed it up to a Levan. I usually use a Biga because of our climate here. It takes a little bit longer to ferment and maturate also. So I really like taking it slow that way. So for me, I like a drier sourdough. Now, usually kind of... it really freaks people out because they don't realize how dry 60% hydration sourdough is. They're like, This is like streusel topping. This isn't a poolish, but once it ferments, and that's when it really starts to break down, you can see the difference there. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.